Hi, this is Dennis Fassett, the Cash Flow Mercenary. I did an interview yesterday with Mike Levy out of Northern Colorado, who's writing a book on residential property management. And to his credit, he is talking to small owner-operators like me, as well as folks from the big monolithic property management companies out there. I think that's smart because owner-operators like me treat things a lot differently than somebody that's just paid a salary to manage their own somebody else's properties. I think it's a big distinction. So got to kudos to Mike on that. But we got to talking about my set and forget approach quite a bit because from my perspective, property management starts the day I start looking for a property. And he hadn't really heard that before, and I kind of walked him through the approach. And we'll talk about more of my approach as we go on with these videos. But the point that I wanted to talk to you about was probably the point that gets a lot of people interested and really kind of raise their eyebrows. And that's when I do what I call the rent up. The rent up is the part of the program where I've set it on a tenant. I've gone through the screening process. I've got a great property. It's one-on-one then. Now I pick the tenant and we get together and we're going to exchange money for keys. That's the rent up. Again, I'll cut to the chase. I mean, there's a big, long process involved in that as well. I'm very, very thorough in my rent-ups, just as thorough as I am in my tenant screening. But what I do always, every time, is when I do a rent-up, whether it's one of my single-family houses or whether it's one of my apartment units, when we get together, I trade cash for keys. And what I mean is I get cash. I get the security deposit and the first month's rent in cash. In some of my houses, that can be in excess of $2,600 in cash. And I walked out of, I've done 2 rent-ups in a day and walked home and plopped, $5,000 on the counter in cash for my, and I've seen my wife's eyes open up, pretty interested in what's going on. But no, I get cash when I do rent-ups because cash doesn't bounce. I don't think I made that up. I think somebody else told me that, but I can't remember who. So if I'm plagiarizing somebody else, please forgive me. But I've heard horror stories about checks bouncing for security deposits, and in Michigan, you can't sue, you can't evict for a non-payment of security deposit. So if somebody in Michigan gives you a check for a security deposit and it bounces, you can't go evict for that. So I get the security deposit and first month's rent up front in cash when I get together. It's funny, on all the properties, I got my 31 total units. I only had one person really even raise an eyebrow over getting cash about it, and he was kind of surprised. And I looked at him, and this is interesting. This was the guy that was renting the nicest house that I have in my portfolio, the very nicest one. It was house number 10. And he was kind of questioning why I wanted cash. And I held up the keys, and I told him, I said, I'm giving you the keys to the nicest house that I have in my portfolio, a $100,000 asset. I said, if you need a better receipt than that, then I don't know what it is. And I gave him a cash receipt anyway, but that kind of put the point across to him that I was the one taking the risk and not him. So I suggest you do the same thing. I mean, it's a simple change that'll make a huge difference in your business. I mean, I hear folks all the time hearing that they get checks bounced and they have money orders that were fake or forged or whatever. Don't mess with that crap. Get the initial payment in cash when you meet with your renter to do a rent up. It's a little bit more hassle for them. It'll actually save them some money, not having to get a money order or a cashier's check or anything like that. Save them a trip to the bank. Get it in cash. This is Dennis Fassett, the Cash Flow Mercenary. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk again tomorrow.